I was lying on the hospital bed, staring at the ceiling, waiting, but nobody came. Not a single call. Not a single text. I kept telling myself they must be stuck in traffic. Or maybe they were just running late. But deep down, I already knew. Because 2 hours earlier, I had seen the post. My entire family was smiling, holding blue balloons, cutting cakes, celebrating. It was my brother's baby shower. On the exact day of my surgery. A surgery I had begged them to help me with. I still remember my mom's words, "Honey, we're a family. We support each other." But this is just bad timing. Bad timing. That's what they called it. I was about to go under anesthesia for something that could end in death. But balloons were more important. As the nurse adjusted my four, she asked, "Are your family members on the way?" I smiled. A fake, broken smile. "Yeah, they'll be here soon." But they wouldn't. And I knew it. Because for them, a new baby's arrival meant more than the survival of the daughter they already had. Do you know what it feels like to realize you're disposable? To realize you're just an option? If you do, comment where you're watching from. Because maybe, just maybe, I'm not the only one who's ever felt this. Lying there, all I could hear was the faint beep of the monitor, matching the rhythm of my anxiety. The nurse squeezed my hand and said, "Don't worry, sweetheart. You're not alone." But she was wrong. I was completely, devastatingly, alone. My mind kept replaying the night before. How I had begged them. "Mom, Dad, this surgery isn't cosmetic. It's not optional. If I don't do this, I could die." But they exchanged glances and said, "We understand. But it's a special day for your brother. A special day. A cake. Some confetti. Smiles for Instagram." That was more urgent than their own daughter's life. I watched the Instagram stories as they laughed, hugged, popped champagne. Meanwhile, I was being rolled into the operating room, shaking. Crying. As the anesthesiologist placed the mask over my face, his words echoed, "Count back from 10. 10, 9, 8. But in my mind, I wasn't counting numbers. I was counting memories. Trying to remember any moment when I truly felt chosen by them. And then, darkness. A heavy, suffocating darkness. But even in that darkness, one thought stayed bright. If I survive this, they'll never have access to me the same way again. I didn't know it yet, but a storm was coming. When I woke up, the ceiling was blurry, the air smelled like antiseptic, and for a brief second, I forgot everything. Then it hit me. I looked around. No flowers. No cards. No family. Nothing. Just an empty chair and a cold metal tray. The nurse smiled, trying to brighten the mood. "Good news, the surgery went well." I whispered, "Is anyone here for me?" She glanced at the hallway, her smile fading. Not yet, but I'm sure they're on the way." Lie. A gentle, well-meaning lie. I grabbed my phone. With trembling hands, dozens of missed notifications. Not from family. From friends commenting, "Congrats to your brother." And "Such a beautiful baby shower." Photos of gifts. Smiles. A family portrait. A family I apparently didn't belong to. The worst part? My mom had posted a caption, "Family means everything. Today we celebrate new life and the love that holds us together." A punch straight to my chest. Everything, except me. I wasn't part of that love. I wasn't part of that everything. Do you know that feeling? Watching your family celebrate, while you're fighting for your life, invisible? Comment below, because maybe someone out there knows how this feels. Or maybe I really am the family's forgotten ghost. The doctor walked in, clipboard in hand. You're recovering faster than expected. You're stronger than you look. I forced a smile. Strong? Maybe. Or maybe, when you've been abandoned enough times, survival just becomes a reflex. As he explained my recovery plan, my phone buzzed. Finally. A message from Mom. But my hands trembled when I read it. How are you feeling? By the way, can you send the password to your Netflix? Your cousins want to watch something at the party. That wasn't concern. That was convenience. They didn't even ask if I made it through the surgery alive. I stared at the screen, numb. My heart whispered, you are on your own. Fully. Completely, on your own. Something inside me broke. And something else woke up. I turned to the doctor. How soon can I leave? He looked surprised. Are you sure? You should stay at least 2 days, no. I want out. I have things to handle. He nodded slowly, sensing there was something bigger behind my urgency. He had no idea. Because while my family toasted with champagne and unwrapped baby gifts, they had no idea that something else was being unwrapped too. A document. A secret. A piece of paper that would change everything they thought they knew about me, and about the fortune they were expecting. As I signed the discharge papers, something shifted inside me. The girl who begged for crumbs of love was gone. I walked out of that hospital with a scar on my body, but something even deeper carved into my soul. A vow. A quiet vow. I ordered a taxi. Destination? Not home. Home wasn't a place for me anymore. I went straight to the one person who still saw me. My grandmother's lawyer. A man who had held secrets for far too long. And that day, one of those secrets was ready to explode. As I stepped into his office, he stood, surprised. You're early. I stared him dead in the eye. I need to know if it's true. Is there a will? He nodded slowly. Yes. Your grandmother updated it before she passed. And it changes everything. My heartbeat was louder than his words. Louder than the city noise outside. Your family has no idea. She left something, just for you. Something that will rewrite the meaning of family for every single one of them. I clenched my fists. I want to see it. Now. He opened the drawer, pulled out a folder. And as his hands trembled opening it, mine trembled too. Because I knew this wasn't just a will. It was a declaration. A message from the only person who ever truly saw me. He slid the document across the table. My name written in ink. Bold. Centered. Not as an afterthought. Not as a footnote. But as the main, and only, heir. My vision blurred. For the first time in years. I felt like someone chose me. Truly chose me. His voice was steady but cold. Your grandmother knew. She saw everything. The favoritism. The neglect. The cruelty masked as tradition. His fingers tapped the paper. That's why she left it all, to you. The house. The land. The business. The investments. Everything. Everything. Every single thing my family thought was theirs, was actually mine. Not because of greed. Not because of revenge. But because I was the only one who had shown up for her, when everyone else was busy, planning baby showers and birthday parties. A flood of memories hit me. Sitting by her hospital bed. Cooking her meals. Reading her stories. She used to whisper, one day, you'll understand why I always said, blood doesn't make family. Love does. And now. I understood it perfectly. But this wasn't just about inheritance. This was about sending a message. About Rewriting my story. And maybe, just maybe, about showing them that the daughter they treated like nothing was about to become the woman they'd never, ever forget. As I left the lawyer's office, the sun felt different. Warmer. Sharper. Or maybe it was me who had changed. For the first time, I wasn't walking like someone carrying shame. I was walking like someone carrying power. A power they never thought I'd have. My phone buzzed again. A family group text. Photos from the baby shower. Smiling faces. My brother holding tiny shoes. My mom's caption read, "Family is the greatest blessing." Oh, the irony. I chuckled. A cold, hollow chuckle. If only they knew what was coming. I typed a reply. Paused. Deleted. It. No, not yet. Not through text. This deserved to be delivered in person. Face to face. I wasn't the black sheep anymore. I wasn't the shadow in the family portrait. I was the storm they never saw coming. I booked a private meeting with the lawyer. "I want you there," I told him. When, he asked. I smiled. At the next family gathering. Because if they thought the baby shower was memorable, wait until they saw what the will had to say. As the Uber pulled up to my old house, I stared through the window. The same driveway where I once stood crying now looked small. Tiny. Like the opinions they had of me. And with every step toward that door, I whispered to myself, "Watch me." The front door swung open. My mother's fake smile appeared first. "Oh, you're here. We were wondering if you'd show up." Behind her, the usual lineup, Dad with his arms crossed, my brother grinning like a king, and a room full of people pretending. "Take a seat," she said, pointing to the smallest chair. Of course. The smallest. The furthest from the center. As if I was still the background character in their perfect little movie. I didn't sit. I stood. Taller than I'd ever stood in that house before. My brother chuckled. "So, what's up? You missed the shower." "Rude, huh?" I stared at him. "Rude? You mean like choosing balloons over someone's surgery?" His smirk froze. Dad coughed awkwardly. Mom blinked like she didn't hear me. Oh, but they heard. Loud and clear. I pulled out the folder from my bag. Thick. Heavy. Important. Actually, I came because there's something we need to discuss. Their faces shifted. From arrogance, to confusion, to suspicion. "What's that?" Mom asked, her voice suddenly less sweet. Less rehearsed. "It's the will," I said, placing it on the table. "Grandma's will. You remember her, right? The woman none of you visited. The woman you forgot, just like you forgot me." Silence. Thick. Suffocating. My brother's jaw tightened. Mom's hands trembled. And Dad went pale. My mother's lips curled. "A will. Oh, sweetheart, whatever she left, we'll divide it, as a family." Her voice dripped with fake sweetness, the same tone she used when dismissing my pain. But her hands were shaking. She already knew something was wrong. The lawyer cleared his throat. "Actually, that's not how this works." He placed his briefcase on the table, clicked it open, and pulled out the official copy. Per Mrs. Eleanor Davis's final testament, everything, he paused, staring directly at them, goes to her granddaughter. For a second, no one breathed. The air froze. My dad slammed his fist on the table. "That's impossible. This house, the business, the land, they're ours." My brother's face turned crimson. "She's lying. This is fake. Right, Mom?" Mom stayed silent. Completely silent. The lawyer didn't even flinch. It's perfectly legal. Signed, notarized, and registered. Your mother made her wishes clear. Every asset. Every dollar. Every property. Every share. All, to her. He pointed at me. Me. The daughter they forgot. The one they left behind. I crossed my arms. Calm. Unbothered. Watching them unravel was strangely therapeutic. Did you really think you could treat someone like garbage forever? And never face consequences? I tilted my head. Surprise. Their eyes screamed panic. But the storm? Oh, the storm was just starting. My brother jumped to his feet, knocking over a chair. This is a joke. A setup. You manipulated her. His wife stood behind him, whispering frantically, "Babe, calm down, people are watching," but there was no calming him now. His empire of entitlement was crumbling. My father's face turned stone cold. We built this family. We deserve that inheritance. I met his gaze. Unshaken. No, Dad. You built a hierarchy. A system where love was conditional. Where I was never enough. Where balloons meant more than my life. His lips quivered. Mom tried to soften the blow. Listen, honey, maybe we can discuss an arrangement. Oh, honey. Now I was worth sugar-coated words. I leaned forward. An arrangement? You mean like, when you arranged to skip my surgery for a baby shower? The lawyer interrupted. For clarity, there are no arrangements. The assets are hers. Effective immediately. The deeds are already transferred. The accounts are secured. This is final. He closed the folder. The loud snap of the latch sounded like a gunshot in that silent room. I stood taller than ever. You know, I came here thinking I wanted revenge. But looking at you now, I realize this isn't revenge. This is justice. Justice, wrapped in a legal envelope. And as I turned to leave, I whispered, "Enjoy your baby shower." As I stepped toward the door, my mother's voice cracked. "Wait, please, we can talk." I turned slowly. The woman who once told me, "Don't be dramatic, it's just bad timing," now had tears swelling in her eyes. But I wasn't sure if they were real. Dad slammed his fist again. "You ungrateful brat. You think this changes anything? You'll regret this. You're still nothing without us." I chuckled. Cold. Empty. Nothing? No. I was nothing when I needed you. But now? Now. I'm everything you thought I'd never be. My brother's voice cut the air. She manipulated Grandma. She's always been a selfish little, careful, the lawyer interrupted, firm as steel. Accusations like that are called defamation. And lucky for her, she now has the money to sue you for it. His face collapsed. Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. You could hear the clock ticking. My mother gripped the edge of the table. "We're family, don't do this." I stared at her. "No. You did this. When you chose a cake over my surgery. When you chose blue balloons over my life." I grabbed the folder. Tight. Unshakable. This isn't me leaving the family. This is me realizing I was never in it to begin with. I opened the door. And with one deep breath, I stepped out. But little did they know, that wasn't the end. Not even close. The moment the door shut behind me, my phone vibrated. A message from the lawyer. "Check your email. There's more." Confused, I opened it. Attached were scanned documents. Something I hadn't expected. Something that made this story even darker. Even messier. It was a letter. Handwritten. From my grandmother. If you're reading this, then they finally know the truth. Her words felt like whispers from the grave. But there's something else. Something they never told you about why they treated you like this. I scrolled, trembling. She continued, there's a secret about your birth. About a decision they made before you were even born. A decision that explains everything. My chest tightened. My hands turned cold. My vision blurred. They always resented you. Because you weren't supposed to exist. I gasped. My heart pounded like it was trying to escape my ribs. They wanted to terminate, but I fought for you. I signed the papers that saved your life. I became your legal guardian before you ever took your first breath. I felt the ground shift beneath me. Tears flooded my eyes. All this time. I thought I was just the forgotten daughter. But now, I was realizing I was never even meant to be their daughter at all. The surgery, the rejection, the neglect, suddenly, it all made a horrifying kind of sense. I sat on the curb outside their house, phone in hand, hands trembling. Not supposed to exist, the words echoed inside my skull, louder than traffic, louder than reality. Every childhood memory suddenly twisted itself into a cruel puzzle that finally made sense. Her letter continued. Your mother got pregnant, and your father made it clear. They didn't want another child. But I did. I fought them. I signed the guardianship papers while you were still in the womb. Legally, you were mine before you were ever theirs. Tears streamed down my face. Not because I was broken. No, because for the first time in my life, I understood why I always felt like a stranger in my own house. Like an outsider eating crumbs at a table. That was never meant for me. I raised you, even if under their roof. I paid for your school. I paid for your clothes. I made sure you survived. They tolerated you, because of me. But once I was gone, they stopped pretending. Her words stabbed. But also healed. A strange, paradoxical pain. I gripped my chest. Breathing hurt. Living hurt. But then her final line appeared, and now, darling, you own everything they thought was theirs. Because I knew, one day, you'd need to remember. That you were always wanted. By me. I stood up. My hands clenched into fists. A lifetime of rejection, now repackaged as power. My phone buzzed again. A call. From my mother. I let it ring. And ring. And ring. Watching her name flash was oddly satisfying. Then another message popped in. Come back inside. We need to talk. As a family. Oh, now it was as a family. Where was that energy when I was begging for someone to show up to my surgery? Where was that when I was a child, looking for a hug? I smiled. Not a sweet smile. No. A smile carved from years of pain, finally cashing itself out. I typed back, sure. Let's talk. But not in your house. Meet me tomorrow, at the lawyer's office. I hit send. Sat back. And waited for the fireworks. Within seconds, the replies came pouring in. What's this about? Can't we settle this at home? Why are you making this difficult? I chuckled, whispering to myself, oh, you haven't seen difficult yet. Tomorrow, they'd understand the meaning of consequences. Because the will was only part one. The documents in that email? Oh, those were part two. And part two would make the will look like a friendly goodbye letter. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about truth. About exposure. About legacy. The next morning, I stood in front of the law office. My heels clicking on the pavement felt like war drums. I wasn't the forgotten daughter anymore. I was the executor of a truth they had buried for decades, and today, it was crawling to the surface. The receptionist waved me in. They're already inside. Perfect. I walked down the hallway, each step heavier, louder, like the steps of someone walking toward the final chapter of a book that everyone else thought was already written. But oh, they were wrong. As I opened the door, there they were. Mom. Dad. Brother. His wife. Sitting stiff. Eyes bloodshot. Faces pale. Waiting for answers. Or maybe, praying the answers weren't what they feared. Spoiler alert, they were exactly what they feared. The lawyer stood. Thank you all for coming. Let's begin. He pulled out 2 folders. One black. One red. He placed the black one on the table. As you already know, this contains the final will. No need to revisit that. They shifted. Uncomfortably. Then, he placed the red folder on top. This contains legal documents and a letter from Mrs. Eleanor Davis. A letter that reveals information previously unknown to this family. My mother's face drained of color. My father leaned forward, whispering, "What, letter?" The lawyer opened the red folder. Slowly. Dramatically. Perfectly. He pulled out the letter. Cleared his throat. To my beloved granddaughter, and to those who never deserved her. Instantly, my mother's hand flew to her chest. Oh. God, she whispered. He continued. There is something you never told her. Something you kept hidden. But I won't let her live the rest of her life believing she was ever unwanted. Because the truth is uglier than any lie you've ever told. My brother shifted, muttering, "What the hell is this?" The lawyer laid out the guardianship papers. Before her birth, this child was legally transferred into my care. The parents sitting before you attempted to terminate the pregnancy. I prevented it. I signed her into existence. His words landed like grenades. Dad jumped up. You don't have the right to bring this up. His voice cracked. This is private family business. The lawyer raised a brow. It was, until it became a legal matter. This document is filed. Sealed. And now, revealed. Mom burst into silent tears. I sat there. Calm. Composed. Watching the castle of secrets collapse brick by brick. You didn't want me. You never did. And yet, here I am. Sitting across from the people who tried to erase me before I ever took my first breath. And guess what? I own everything. My mother buried. Her face in her hands. Her shoulders trembled. This isn't how it was, she muttered. My father snapped, don't start. Don't you dare start crying now. You knew this day could come. His voice wasn't angry. It was terrified. The lawyer continued, cold as ice. It is documented that Mrs. Davis assumed legal guardianship over her granddaughter before birth. The reasons are stated here in her own handwriting. The rejection. The refusal. The attempted termination. The silence was suffocating. My brother slammed the table. This is ridiculous. You were born. They raised you. You lived in our house. I turned to him. Calm. No. I survived in your house. There's a difference. His lips trembled. His wife squeezed his arm, whispering, Babe, stop, stop. Mom tried to speak. We were young. We didn't know what we were doing. It was complicated, her voice cracked. Tears streamed down her face. For a brief second, I almost felt something. But then I remembered. Remembered that hospital bed. Remembered the empty waiting room. I leaned forward. Locked eyes with her. You know what's complicated? Watching your entire family pop balloons while you're praying you survive anesthesia. The lawyer didn't flinch. For legal purposes, this meeting is being recorded. Dad muttered under his breath, "This is a nightmare." The lawyer pulled out one more paper. This is a restraining order. Effective immediately. You are not permitted to step foot on any of the properties now under her name. Violation. Will result in immediate legal action. The sound of my father's chair scraping echoed like thunder. This is insane. Dad barked. You can't erase your family. I stood. Taller than ever. Funny, that's exactly what you tried to do. Before I was even born. His face contorted into a mix of rage, and something else. Shame. My brother slammed his palm against the table. You can't do this. You won't survive without us. You need this family. You always have. I walked around the table. Slowly. Measured. No. I needed a family. What I had was a group of strangers sharing a last name. My mother whispered. Broken. We made mistakes, but we're still your parents. I stared deep into her eyes. No. You were my landlords. My jailers. But never my parents. Her face crumbled. My words were sharper than any legal document. The lawyer cleared his throat. Meeting adjourned. You will be escorted out. Effective today, you are trespassers on her property. I watched them stand. Small. Defeated. The mighty kings and queens of fake family, reduced to nothing more than echoes of bad decisions. As they stumbled toward the door, my father spun around one last time. His face, once filled with arrogance, was now a blend of humiliation and desperation. You think money makes you better than us? His voice cracked. You'll regret this. You will. I tilted my head, staring him down. No. Money doesn't make me better. But truth does. And freedom. Oh, freedom tastes better than anything I've ever known. His fist clenched. His lips quivered. But for the first time in my life, he had nothing left to say. My brother kicked the wall as he walked out. His wife yanked his arm, whispering. Stop. You're embarrassing yourself. Mom didn't even look at me. Her eyes were hollow. Dead. Like someone who just realized. The throne she sat on never actually existed. As the door closed behind them, the lawyer turned to me. It's done. Every account. Every property. Every legal document. It's all yours. Completely untouchable. My knees buckled slightly. Not from weakness. But from the overwhelming realization. I won. I actually won. I sat down. Hands shaking. Is it crazy that I don't feel happy? He nodded softly. It's not crazy. This was never about happiness. This was about closure. About ending a chapter that was written without your consent. I exhaled, a breath I'd been holding for years. As I walked out of that office, the sky looked different. Not brighter. Not darker. Just real. No filters. No lies. Just raw, unpolished reality. For the first time ever, the world felt like mine. Like I actually belonged. Somewhere. My phone buzzed. A message. From an unknown number. I know what happened. I'm sorry. You didn't deserve any of it. I froze. Stared at the screen. Then another message followed. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. Aunt Michelle. I chuckled. Aunt Michelle, the one they always called the black sheep, the crazy one, and yet, she was the only person reaching out now. Funny how the family's so-called disgrace turned out to be the only one with a soul. I texted back. Coffee tomorrow? Her reply was instant. Anytime. My treat. And for the first time, I realized something. Family isn't who shares your blood. Family is who shows up when the world pretends you don't exist. I slid my phone into my pocket. Looked at my reflection in the glass. You survived. The people who tried to erase you. A slow smile formed. Not out of spite. Not out of revenge. But out of something deeper. Something called rebirth. The next morning, I walked into a little cafe on Main Street. There she was, Aunt Michelle. Same leather jacket. Same wild hair. Same energy that made the family whisper, she's the disgrace. But now, she was the only one whose presence felt like home. She stood, arms wide open. Look at you, walking like someone who finally realized, she's the storm. I laughed. Not the fake kind. The real kind. The one I hadn't heard from my own mouth in years. You have no idea what kind of storm. We sat. Ordered coffee. No small talk. No pretending. Just raw truth. She leaned in. I always knew, kid. I always knew they resented you. I just didn't know, it started before you were even born. Her eyes softened. I'm sorry you had to learn it that way. I stirred my coffee, staring at the swirl of cream dissolving into black. You know what's funny? I thought getting the inheritance would make me feel powerful. But it didn't. What made me feel powerful was realizing they never had the power to define me. She raised her cup. To that. To rebirth. To becoming the villain in their story. Because sometimes, kid, the villain is just the hero in someone else's nightmare. I clinked my cup against hers. Cheers to that. And for the first time, I felt free. Truly free. Aunt Michelle slid an envelope across the table. You should see this. I opened it. Inside were photos. Documents. Screenshots. Evidence. What is this? She grinned. The side of your family that you never knew. Or maybe, the side you always suspected. Financial fraud. Tax evasion. Secret bank accounts. My brother's fake charity. My father's offshore investments. My mother's secret credit cards hidden from the family. They weren't just bad parents, they were bad at being criminals too. Michelle chuckled, sipping her latte. My jaw dropped. Wait, how did you get this? She winked. Oh honey, when they made me the black sheep, they forgot one thing. Black sheep don't live in the pen. We roam free. And when you roam free, you hear everything. I sat back. Processing. So? I could ruin them. Publicly. Legally. Completely. She nodded. You could. But you don't have to. That's the real power, kid. Knowing you can, and choosing when. Or if. A different kind of power. Silent. Elegant. Terrifying. I closed the envelope. For now, let them wonder. Let them sweat. Let them stay up at night, praying the past doesn't crawl out from under the rug. Michelle grinned. That's my girl. And just like that, the forgotten daughter became the ghost, haunting their legacy. Later that afternoon, I drove past my old house. The house I once called home, now legally mine. The lawn looked overgrown. The shutters chipped. It was strange, how something that once held so much pain, now felt like just bricks, wood, and memories. I pulled over. Sat in the car. Stared. At it. Do I keep it, renovate it, or burn it to the ground? I whispered to myself. Each option felt tempting. But then another voice echoed in my mind. No. You transform it. You make it yours. I stepped out. Walked up to the front gate. My brother was there. Loading boxes into his car. His wife hovered nearby, avoiding eye contact. He saw me. Froze. His eyes narrowed. What are you doing? Here. I smiled. Calm. Cold. Checking on my property. He scoffed. You really think this changes who you are? Money doesn't buy class. I tilted my head. True. But it does buy lawyers, properties, and freedom, something you clearly don't have anymore. His face turned crimson. His hands clenched. As I walked past him, I whispered. Take your memories. Take your balloons. Take your confetti. Because the next party thrown on this property won't have your name on the guest list. His wife dragged him back, muttering, let it go. She won. I stepped inside. The smell hit me first. Memories. Good ones. Bad ones. Mostly, heavy ones. I walked through the living room. The same couch where I used to sit alone on Christmas. The same table where plates were set, always one less for me. I placed my hand on the wall. This isn't a house of pain anymore. It's a house of rebirth. I whispered it like a spell. A declaration. A promise to the little girl inside me, who once cried herself to sleep behind this very door. Suddenly, a notification popped on my phone. An email. From the lawyer. Subject line, urgent, another document found. My heart skipped. Another? I opened it. A scanned letter. Same handwriting. Same signature. My grandmother's. But this time, it wasn't addressed to me. It was addressed to my father. To the man who tried to erase her. I leave you one last thing, a reminder that the blood you tried to deny now owns every piece of the empire you thought was yours. I gasped. My knees buckled. Attached to it was a video. A video recorded weeks before she passed. If they're watching this, it means they failed. And she, my granddaughter, won. This is me, telling the world. Telling them. You didn't break her. You built her. Congratulations. I sat on the floor, staring at the screen, as my grandmother's voice filled the room. Her tone wasn't bitter. It wasn't angry. It was victorious. You tried to erase her, but what you did was carve her into stone. Indestructible. Unbreakable. She smiled. A soft, knowing smile. And now, the legacy you built on exclusion belongs to the very person you tried to cast out. Life has a funny way of balancing things, doesn't it? Her eyes pierced through the screen like she was still alive, watching. Tears blurred my vision. Not from sadness. From something deeper. Something called vindication. Something called justice. Something that whispered, you survived. You won. And in that moment, I realized. This wasn't the end. This was the beginning. As the video ended, there was one final message on the screen. A legal clause. One I hadn't seen before. In the event of any attempt to contest this will, the backup clause activates. Immediate forfeiture of all personal and financial claims within the family trust. I gasped. She didn't just secure my future. She buried their chances of ever crawling back. My phone buzzed again. A text from the lawyer. They tried to contest. It's over. Completely. They lost everything. I covered my mouth. Speechless. Shaking. Laughing. Crying. I walked outside, into the sunlight. A different person. Lighter. Stronger. Free. My phone rang. And Michelle. I answered. Did you see the email? Her laughter exploded through the speaker. Oh, honey, your grandma was a savage until the very end. I chuckled. You know what's wild? I spent my whole life begging them to choose me. To love me. And now I realize I was never the problem. I was the threat. The living reminder that their cruelty didn't work. She sighed. Damn right. And now, what are you gonna do? Sell everything? Move? Burn it all to the ground? I paused. Looked back at the house. At the land. At the ghosts of my past. No. I'm gonna turn this place into something they hate. Her voice sharpened. What's that? I smiled. A sanctuary. For girls like me. Girls who were told they weren't enough. Girls who were discarded by the people who were supposed to love them. This house will become the home I never had. Silence on the line. Then, a deep exhale. Kid. I have never been prouder of anyone in my life. You took the ashes, and you built a kingdom. I wiped a tear. No, Michelle. I built a revolution. Weeks passed. The house transformed. Walls were painted. Rooms were opened. Every corner that once echoed with silence was now filled with laughter, music, and hope. The first girls arrived, foster teens, runaways, survivors. Girls. Like me. Forgotten. Ignored. Unloved. I stood at the front steps. A plaque being drilled into the brick. The Eleanor House, a sanctuary for the unchosen. My grandmother's name, forever immortalized. Her fight, her love, her legacy. Now saving others from the same darkness I once drowned in. The local news caught wind of the story. Cameras showed up. Microphones were shoved in my face. Is it true? You inherited everything after being rejected by your own family? I smiled. Calm. Powerful. It's true. And this is what I chose to do with it. Reporters flooded the airwaves. Headlines exploded. Daughter turned heiress builds. Home for rejected girls after family betrayal. The story went viral. Strangers online flooded me with messages. Some cheering. Some crying. Some saying, "You told my story without knowing it." And just like that, the narrative shifted. I wasn't the family's black sheep anymore. I was the blueprint for survival. The proof that you don't need to be chosen to matter. You don't need permission to rise. You don't need anyone's approval to exist. Meanwhile, my old family watched it all unfold. On the news. On social media. On every channel. Their faces, hollow. Their pride, shattered. Their kingdom of denial, burned to the ground. And they realized. She didn't just win. She rewrote the story. I got a voicemail from my mother. Her voice was frail. Broken. I saw what you're doing. It's beautiful. I'm sorry. I know it's too late, but I needed to say it. I didn't delete it. I didn't return it. I just let it sit. Like an artifact. My brother posted a passive-aggressive Facebook status. Funny how some people think money erases history. I laughed. Out loud. Because yes, money doesn't erase history. But truth? Truth erases everything. Lies. Pride. Denial. Generational. Cruelty. All of it. Aunt Michelle showed up with flowers. You did it, kid. You flipped the script. You turned their rejection into a rescue mission. I hugged her tight. We did it. Grandma. You. Me. Every girl who walks through these doors. This is the real family now. As the sun set behind the Eleanor house, I stood on the porch, whispering to the wind. You tried to bury me. You forgot. I was a seed. And as the laughter of the girls echoed behind me, I knew. This was the life I was always meant to live. A month later, I stood in the mirror, barely recognizing the woman staring back. Not because I had changed, but because I had finally returned to who I always was, before the world tried to convince me otherwise. Before rejection. Before abandonment. Before betrayal. A ribbon-cutting ceremony was planned. Cameras. Journalists. City officials. Strangers cheering. My story wasn't just mine anymore. It became a symbol. A symbol that whispered to anyone who ever felt unwanted. You are not broken. You were never broken. They were. As I stepped on stage, applause thundered around me. I took a deep breath. Looked at the crowd. Looked at the girls. Looked at the future. Thank you for being here. This isn't just a building. This is proof. Proof that pain can be compost. And from compost, grows a garden. The mayor shook my hand. Reporters flashed cameras. People chanted my name. And for the first time, it wasn't for pity. It wasn't for tragedy. It was for triumph. For transformation. For surviving what was designed to break me. And turning it into something indestructible. Then, in the corner of the crowd, I saw them. My parents. My brother. Watching. Silent. Small. Invisible. The way they once made me feel. And for a split second, I realized something. I don't hate them. I don't even need them. I'm free. As the ceremony ended, a woman approached me. Mid-50s. Sharp eyes. Gentle smile. Are you Eleanor's granddaughter? I nodded. Yes. Can I help you? She inhaled deeply. I've been trying to find you. For years. Her voice trembled. I'm your biological aunt. Eleanor was my sister. Your biological grandmother. The ground shook beneath me. Wait, what do you mean? She pulled out an envelope. Photos. Documents. DNA tests. You were adopted into their family. You were never their biological child. My heart stopped. My ears rang. You're saying I was never their blood? She nodded, eyes filling with tears. Eleanor took you in after your birth parents died in an accident. She placed you with them, thinking they'd love you. But they never did. I collapsed. Onto the bench. Everything made sense. The rejection. The distance. The coldness. I wasn't unwanted because I was broken. I was unwanted because I was never theirs. Not by blood. Not by choice. And suddenly, the weight lifted completely. She grabbed my hand. But you were always ours. You were always loved. You just didn't know it yet. Tears streamed down my face. For the first time, not from pain. Not from grief. But from something entirely new. Belonging. Real, unshakable. Belonging. Finally.